It's Miss Johnson, and today we are going to be looking at operations with rational numbers. So rational numbers, remember, are any positive or negative whole number, integer, fraction, or decimal. Okay, so we look at our first question. It says, what is the value of the following expression? So we have negative 8 and 6/10 times 3 and 5/8. Now remember, these parentheses here mean that we're going to be multiplying. Then it says record your answer below. Be sure to use the correct place value. So I know if I have to put my answer in this grid here, that means that both of these need to be decimals in order for me to put. I can't put a fraction in here. So I need to change that 5/8 to a decimal. And we do that by dividing. So we're going to say 5 divided by 8. And I'm going to see if I can do this real quickly. I almost put 18. Okay, so that's going to give us 0 and 625 thousandths. So I'm multiplying negative 8 and 6/10 times. So the 3 is the whole number, right? So the 3 just comes over and stays the same, and then the 5/8 just changes to 625 thousandths. So I'm going to put the 3 and 625 thousandths at the top. Then I'm going to put the 8 and 6/10 below. Remember, I'm going to put my little negative there. Remember, when you are multiplying decimals, you do not have to line up the decimals. Okay, we're doing groups of things, and so the place value does not have to be lined up. So that's 30, 12, 15, 36, 37, 6, 12, 18, 19, 20, 21. Remember to put your 0 to hold your place value. You've already multiplied by the 6, so you don't want to start your answer there. Then 8 times 5 is 40. 16, that'd be 20. 48, 49, 50. A lot of zeros down there. 8, 16, 24 plus 5, that would be 29. And then we add it up. 2 and 9 is 11. And now we have to move our decimal. So we're going to 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we have a negative times a positive, and that's going to give us a negative. So we're going to have negative 31 and 175 thousandths. Now, I don't know about you, but I see a problem putting this in the griddable. Do you see a problem? Yeah, me too. All right, first, let's put the negative. You got to grid the negative. Your 31, make sure you use the correct place value. The 3 is in the tens place, and the 1 is in the ones place. And then we don't have enough place values here. So let's just make another one. Yeah, I know this is not what we're supposed to do, but it'll be okay. Okay, so we'll just pretend. So we're going to have, I should have put the 31 up here. So 31 and 175 thousandths. So 175 thousandths. Okay, so you got to make sure you put your negative, and then you got to make sure you put your place values in the right spot. Now, I promise you, never ever on a STAR test or anything like that are you going to have it to where it doesn't have the right place value. So don't worry about that. Miss Johnson just put this together too fast, and I ended up making that mistake. But don't worry, okay? I promise you, if it's on a real test, it won't be like that. They will only be to the 100th spot, okay? All right. Let's go ahead and look at number 2. Number 2 says, what is the value of the expression? Remember, we always have to use order of operations. All right. And remember this line right here. This line right here means we're going to divide. And we need to do everything that is on top before we can divide. Right? All right. So let's see. We've got negative 22 minus 10 and 8/10, or we're getting, so we have negative 22, and then we have 10 negative 10 and 8 tenths. Okay? Some people like to say less negative means it's more, less positive means it's more negative, and they like to keep change switch or keep change. Some people say different things. Either way, we're putting together negative 22 and negative 10 and 8 tenths. Okay, so the signs are the same, so we're going to add them. We're going to make sure that we line up our decimals. So that's going to give us negative 32 and 8 tenths. So this up at the top will be negative 32 and 8 tenths, and then we would divide by 4 hundredths. So we'll do neato. The numerator goes in. Oops. The numerator goes in. The denominator goes out. Making that super messy, aren't I? Let me do it again. Alright, so 32.8 or 32 and 8 tenths divided by 4 hundredths. I do not want to divide by a decimal, so I'm going to make it a whole number. Actually multiplying it by 100, but the shortcut is to move the decimal point 2 places to the left. You got to put a 0 there. So 4 can't go into 3. 4 can go into 32 8 times. 4 can go into 8 twice. I have to bring down that 0, and 4 goes into 0 0 times. Remember, if you bring a number down, you have to put a number in the numerator. Okay, that kind of looks like a decimal. Let me make that bigger. And our decimal would be here. So our answer is 820. Okay, so if we're going to put our answer in our griddable, 820 is a whole number, so that means the whole thing has to go in front of the decimal. If you need to write it 820.00, go ahead and do that. You don't have to shade in the zeros behind the decimal point, but you absolutely can. It will be correct if you do that. Do you think we have to bubble in the plus sign? Because it's positive? You can, but you don't have to. A lot of people like to do that. That way they don't forget when it's a negative. But you don't have to put the plus sign. Just like when you write 820, you don't write the positive. Okay? All right, let's go on to number 3. Number 3 says, what is the value of the expression 7 minus 2 1/3 divided by negative 2? Remember, we always have to remember to use PEMDAS. So we have parentheses here. We have parentheses right here, but there's nothing to do inside the parentheses. So basically what these parentheses are telling us is that that is a negative 2. They don't mean anything else except they're separating that to be a negative 2. So I look and I say, okay, I've got subtraction and I've got division. Subtraction and division. Do I subtract first or do I divide first? Yeah, we divide first, right? So we are going to take the 2 1/3 and divide it by negative 2. I'm going to go ahead and bring that over here. Now I need to make this improper. 6, that'd be 7/3 divided by 2/1. And then a lot of people do keep, change, flip. So we're going to keep the 7/2 and change divide to multiply, and then we're going to take the reciprocal. So 7 times 1 is 7, 2 times 2 is 4, and it's going to be negative because a positive times a negative is a negative. The signs are different. Now, 7 minus negative 7/4. Okay, well, I do not want to deal with that improper fraction, so I'm going to fix that. Right? Do neato, numerator in, denominator out. So that's 1 3/4. Okay, I definitely like that better. So we're going to do 7 minus, okay, so look, that minus sign came down, right? And then our, it was negative 7/4. I'm going to go ahead and erase that though, because... Right, so the negative came down, and then this was a negative. So I am getting less. So we're getting less negative. So we're getting less negative. That means we're getting more positive. So this is going to become 7 plus 1 3/4. I don't know why I put a 7 there. So I'm going to put 7 plus 1 3/4. So nothing plus 3/4 is 3/4. And 7 plus 1 is 8. So our answer is 8 3/4. Okay, number 4. What is the value of negative 1/4 minus 1/2 divided by negative 4/7? Ooh, that's a lot. Okay, so do what's inside parentheses first. So I've got a negative 1/4 minus a 1/2. Now, remember some people say, think of this as negative 1/4 and negative 1/2. Some people say plus negative 1/2. Either way, we're going to have negative 1/4 and a negative 1/2, which means we are adding those together because the signs are the same. So negative 1/4 plus negative 1/2. So our common denominator is going to be 4. So that means this one's going to stay exactly the same. And this one, we're going to get a new denominator of 4. So we're going to say 2 times what gives me 4? 2 times 2. Whatever you do to the bottom, you got to do to the top. Or whatever you do to the denominator, you got to do to the numerator. So we're going to have negative 1/4 plus negative 2/4 will give us negative 3/4. All right, so let's put it back up in the equation. So we have negative 3/4 divided by negative 4/7. So we're going to keep, change, flip, or multiply by the reciprocal. So we're going to say we're going to keep the negative 3/4. We're going to change our divide to multiply. And we're going to take the reciprocal. So we're going to flip the numerator and the denominator. Man, it would have been nice if we could have kept it because we could have simplified. But nope, we got to follow the rules. So we look to see, can we simplify? So we look at our diagonals, our numerator and our denominator. We can't simplify 3 and 4. So now we look at 4 and 7. And we can't simplify 4 and 7. So we're just going to multiply straight across. So 3 times 7 is 21. And 4 times 4 is 16. And a negative times a negative is a positive. So our answer is going to be positive. So that means I can cross out A and B. And then that's improper. So I'm going to have to divide it. So we do Nito. So 21 divided by 16, that goes once. Subtract, we get 5. Your remainder becomes your numerator, and your denominator stays the same. So our answer is D. Just take it one step at a time. Remember to follow your order of operations and one step at a time. If you get stuck, like right here, if you get stuck and you're like, I just don't know, these fractions, they're freaking me out, I don't know what to do, you can always think of the fractions as whole numbers. Just pretend that this is negative 4 minus 2. What would you do if it was negative 4 minus 2? And then whatever you would do for this one, you just do the same thing for the fractions. Okay? So don't freak out when you see the fractions and stuff. Just think about what you would do if it wasn't a fraction and then do the same thing. Okay? All right, we're going to go over one more together. We're going to go over number 5. All right, number 5 says, what is the value of the expression? Ooh, there's a lot of stuff in this expression. Okay, so I'm just going to write my PEMDAS down just so I can remember it. Make sure I can have it there to refer back to. All right, and I'm going to think about what's going on here. So I see parentheses, But inside that parentheses, that's just negative 2/5. Well, let me see. There might be something that I need to do there, because when I look over here, right, those are decimals. So this is a fraction. So that means I need to take this fraction and I need to take this fraction and I need to change them to decimals. Okay, so 2/5, I'm going to do neato. Just going to do it down here. So 2 divided by 5 will give me 4/10. So I'm going to rewrite everything because that's what we do when we're doing PEMDAS, right? So 75/100 minus negative, keep everything the same. The only thing I'm changing is that the 2/5 is 4/10. The negative is just going to come down, right? I'm just trying to, I knew that was going to happen. Oh well, just put it back. All right, so plus 4/10 plus, now I'm hoping by now you have what negative 3/4 is memorized. But if you don't have it memorized, then you would need to go to the side and you would need to divide it. But that's one you really need to memorize because it is very commonly used. Okay? And just think of quarters. 4 quarters is $1. 3 of the quarters would be 75 cents. And that matches, right? Okay, goodness gracious, this is a lot of stuff here, right? So we have a subtraction sign. We have an addition sign. We have an addition sign. So I'm just adding and subtracting. There's nothing else there. What's inside these parentheses, there's nothing to do. It's just separating and saying that that's a negative. So we just need to add and subtract in order from left to right. Okay, I guess I'm going to have to stop doing that because that is messing everything up. All right, so I'm just going to leave those highlights, okay? All right, so I'm going to do negative 75/100 minus negative 4/10. Okay, so that minus the negative, I'm getting less negative, so I'm getting more positive. So my signs are different. I have a negative and a positive. So when the signs are different, we're going to subtract them. Okay, we're going to subtract away those zeros pairs. So I'm just going to go down to the bottom. And I'm going to subtract. Make sure you line up the decimals. Whoops. So what am I doing again? I'm subtracting because the signs are different. Okay, so it's going to be 35/100, and then I got to think, okay, is it positive or negative? So which one do we have more? Do we have more negatives or do we have more positives? Yeah, we have more negatives, so this is going to be negative. So it's negative 35/100 plus 4/10 plus negative 75/100. Okay, so my next step is going to be this. Signs are different, so that means we're going to subtract. So remember, when you subtract, the one that has more has to go on top. So that means that the 4/10 is going to go on top, and that's positive. And then the 35/100 is negative, and that's going to go on the bottom. So we subtract, and we get 5/100, and it's positive because there was more positives. Okay, so we're going to add positives and negatives. So we add positives and negatives, so that means our we're going to subtract them. All right, so that's what we're doing next. So whatever we have more of has to go on top. It's negative. This one's positive. So we subtract. And there's more negatives, so our answer is going to be negative. Remember, we don't have to put that 0 because it's unnecessary, right? It's just saying that we have 0 hundredths, so we don't need to put that. So our answer is B. So don't get overwhelmed. Just take it one step at a time. Okay, focus on one step at a time. What do we do first? What do we do second? What do we do third? Keep your work organized. You see how organized we kept this? Okay, keep your work organized so that you can know what the next step is. I have all my steps down here in a nice organized way so that if I need to go check it, I can go back and check it. Okay, so even though it feels like a lot, like this is a lot of steps, if you just do it one step at a time and keep yourself organized, you're going to do just fine. Okay, so there is some practice that you're going to do on this. Remember, practice makes perfect, okay? Practice like you want to get it right and you want to do well, and you will. Okay.